Dr. Gruesome, it's October, buddy. We ain't done a thing till today, and it's the 16th.
This is correct, Chuck.
So what do they do up in Transylvania or wherever it is you're from in October? I mean, it's pretty well the same thing year round, isn't it?
It always the same. It's pretty cold. Um, the wolves seem to howl a bit much.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, the Mexicans howl a bit around here this time of year. I think it's because they like to go outside and party on the weekends or something like that. I don't know if I've not figured it out yet, but there's a lot of howling coming from their general direction, especially on the weekends. You got a lot of neighbors. You got a lot of, the wolves howl. But you got any gargoyles or anything around there that likes to cause a ruckus?
No, the gargoyles they only howl when we're out of kitty litter. That's pretty much what they like to eat.
Oh, that's a good reason to howl. So you know what we're not doing this weekend, Dr. Gruesome? We're not going to see the premiere of the Goosebumps movie, which, as you probably are aware, I think opens at midnight tonight, or at least open tonight.
Oh, well, I don't think in this hemisphere it will be 3 more days, and by that time I have a toothache.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I've heard some people say though that it's like the Monster Squad of our generation.
No, Monster Squad I like very much.
Well, it wouldn't be our generation, would it? Because we're kind of like technically kind of old. So your little ghoulies generation, I suppose.
Yes.
So maybe it's third generation. So have you got in any scary movies to watch this month since it's Halloween and all the cool kids are watching scary movies every month at least once a day? Of course, I do that all the time, so that makes me uber cool then. Uber.
I got a new steelbook of The Breed, and I did have a few scary movies to watch, but they're in a different room right now, and there are too many to remember.
Well, have you ever had a situation where you have too many that you're supposed to watch?
There's never too many, Chuck.
There is when people expect them by certain deadlines, my friend. That's when it becomes too many, which is one of the many, many reasons that we went this long that we haven't had a podcast. Do you know, Dr. Gruesome, that the last time we did a Goosebumps podcast was in September?
That is a long time.
And we did one. So we used to be like, we're going to do this every week at the same time on Wednesdays, blah, blah, blah. And now here we are. It's been a month since our last show, over a month, and we're just now getting around doing one. And these books are not that long, so it doesn't take that long to read them. So we can't use that as an excuse. Although I did have a movie that come out though.
This and tracking some down may take some time as well.
Yes. I was going to use my movie, just keep riding that crutch as an excuse, but I'm not sure anybody saw that movie, Dr. Grizzle.
Well, maybe we need to promote a little better.
Maybe we should. Maybe the people that have it should review it. I think I've seen 3 reviews since it came out, and I think before it came out, I've seen about 6. So it's like it's out now, and all the ones we've seen since it came out ain't necessarily good.
Well, how many copies were printed? If everybody has it to review, there may not be more to sell.
I don't have a clue, buddy. I think they only sent a handful of them out to reviewers. But you know how I've realized how to tell when somebody that I'm friends with don't like my movie.
How is this?
Because they'd be like, "Hey, Chuck, man, just popped your movie in." And I'd be like, "Yeah, well, I hope you like it," and then I never hear nothing else. So that's telling me I didn't like that movie, and I don't want to hurt his feelings. So I'm just going to act like I never told him that I'm watching his movie. At least that's how I take it. Who knows? Maybe it's just so good that they're unable to type.
It could be.
It's like, my God, this movie, it touched me in all the right places and all the wrong places all at the same time. And I'm just so mesmerized, traumatized, and filled with anticipation of his next movie that I just cannot tell him how great it is right now. We'll just say that. What do you think?
This could be true, Chuck.
Yes. But this is not a Chuck Connery's Movie Morbid podcast, Dr. Gruesome. This is Chuck's untitled Goosebumps podcast featuring Dr. Gruesome that almost got recorded last night without Dr. Gruesome because I couldn't find you. You must have been locked in a coffin somewhere.
These must have overslept.
You must have overslept. I tried to get a robot replacement. It didn't work out.
Instead of werewolves And robots, I've learned that my good friend the Mummy, he's a good replacement.
Oh, the Mummy.
Yes.
Well, where do I go get him when Dr. Gruesome can't be found?
You could ask Boris Karloff or Vincent Renfield where he could find.
Well, Vincent Renfield's harder to find than you, buddy. He really is. But now, like I said, I recorded it, and I told you this, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it on the air. Like when I played it back, I was hearing myself talk about stuff. It just wasn't flowing. It sounded awkward, and I was doing it at such a tone that I kept yawning. I'd hear myself talking. It would make me keep yawning. Like this is prescription nighttime medicine in audio form. We could bottle that, I guess, or pack it up in little bit rates and send it to people for sleep. But that's not good, Dr. Gruesome. That's the type of stuff that can kill your podcast.
This is true.
We want to be undead, but we don't want to be dead around here. But nonetheless, the book we are covering today is the last book that we did receive from our good friends at Scholastic, and we are finally getting around to covering this. And, of course, our buddy Christopher From, if you need a t-shirt made, you can holler at him, wheeled and dealed with me and sent us a stack of Goosebumps book original ones that we can get to later on. And we have some more coming somewhere. We don't know what they are yet. They may be the same ones he sent. We'll find that out later. Maybe if they are, you can get some of these, Dr. Gruesome.
It will work.
But the one we're doing this week is Attack of the Graveyard Ghouls. Now, this was originally released in November 16th of the year 1998, back when I was in 8th grade at North Elementary School. No, I'm wrong. This was freshman year of high school, I think. I think this was freshman year of high school. Nonetheless, it was part of Goosebumps 2000, was number 11 in that series. But, of course, this is the reprint, which is Classic Goosebumps, number 31, and was released on April the 28th, 2015. And I must say, Dr. Gruesome, that the cover for the reprint is way, way, way of a lesser quality than the original. The original looked like something you see on a death metal album. It's like really cool art. This not so much. This, I don't know what happened.
Well, at times it changed, and maybe R.L. Stein had to bring out the flowers and the puppies.
Yeah, maybe he's like, this is too metal for these kids. They just can't handle seeing these awesome looking zombie creatures, these graveyard ghouls. So now it looks like giant skitty swamp things walking on the cover instead of like the hardcore death metal thing. See, kids, you don't want to be wussified. And that's wussy with the W.
Are they wearing the skinny jeans with the Converse tennis shoe?
I bet they thought about putting them on there. I bet they did. Nonetheless, this is 33 chapters, 117 pages, and some chapters, Dr. Gruesome, are literally 2 pages long. 2 pages.
Wow.
Now, why would you even bother?
Because, Chuck, these books that we're reading, they're meant for the teenager or maybe younger.
Oh, so I guess Mr. 32-year-old me is just over my head, right? R.L. Stein's pulling one. He's like, yeah, I'm going to do a 2-page chapter. 2-page chapter. Take that, kiddies. Maybe he had a quota to meet. Like, maybe they're like, this book has to be 33 chapters, R.L. Stein. So he's like, I'll show you. I'll make a 2-page chapter. Nonetheless, I read it in a couple hours, which is pretty good. Pretty good. The tagline for this is dead, but not buried. And the plot for it is, during a creepy field trip to the local cemetery, Spencer accidentally knocks over a headstone. Now he's face to face with the undead, a cold, ghastly ghoul who wants to take over his body. Does that scare you, Dr. Gruesome?
It scares me to death. That happened to me yesterday.
Oh yeah, all time up there in Transylvania, huh? So we got another one of these nerdy types, and Spencer Casimir, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right. We are Southern down here, folks. And it seems like in these Goosebumps books, it's all a big common theme that the leading man is like the biggest geek in the world. Have you noticed that?
I have noticed. Geeks are popular.
Maybe he knows his audience. Maybe he knows who's reading these things. But nonetheless, he's from a town called Highgrave, which really ties the theme together. When things kick off, he's reading a newspaper in front of his class at school, and he's talking about Graveyard Hill, which is where the graveyard is. That's so high up that the dead can't rest. And he says he hears sounds and sees lights and all this cool stuff. And it's pretty funny because the teacher there is really eating this stuff up, which makes you wonder what kind of teacher this is. He's also being picked on by a guy named Frank. Frank's the local bully. He's this big guy, and the ladies seem to like Frank, which is noted in the book. More on that later, but nonetheless, the teacher took a big old liking to the story for some reason. So next thing you know, the teacher decides that the next day they're going up to the graveyard. You ever had one of them kind of teachers, Dr. Cruz?
Yes, it's very common here. Graveyard is where we do the teenage kissing and holding of the hands.
Holding of the hand. That's serious stuff, Dr. Cruz.
Graveyard is romantic place.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, as we move along here, it becomes clear that our leading man has one friend, and it's a girl named Audra. You can tell he's got a thing for her. Pretty well says he's got a thing for her. Like I said, his only friend in the entire book that I can at least note. The only one it mentions. I believe this might be, in her opinion, our leading man here might be a bit of a talking buddy. Have you ever heard of one of those?
I have. Is also very common.
Yes, it is, especially for the people that read these books, I do believe. So nonetheless, he describes this girl, and he's all about this girl. She's dark-haired. I like to picture her as probably a girl that's dark-haired, about 5'3", with tattoos. But hey, that's just Chuck Connery, and that could be anybody.
It could be anybody.
It could be anybody, but nonetheless, as I go along here, the girl is talking to Frank a whole lot in this book. And I think now we don't really dive into this, so it ain't really a spoiler. But I get the idea that Audra might have a thing for Mr. Bully here. So what do you think of that, Dr. Cruz?
It's not very often Bully gets the attention.
She's trifling, Dr. Cruz. She's trifling. She's scallywagging.
We have different words for that here.
Yes, well, I have to keep it PG on my end as well, but let's just say that if I was Spencer, I'd be pretty upset, and I'd probably put a box of crap on her porch or something like that. But that's just me. Nonetheless, they're at the graveyard, and for him to go to the graveyard, he needs a backpack, so he borrows his little brother's little blue backpack. I don't know why the details there so much on the backpack, but it is in the book. So he takes the backpack with all of his stuff he needs, and he goes up the graveyard hill, and him and the girls doing all what they're supposed to be doing, running across the graveyard, using little markings to see what the old tombstones say that's got the stuff off of them. She, at times, is spotted talking to Frank while she's in the graveyard, which is also noted again. R.L. Stine being real subtle with stuff. They run across this double tombstone, though, with these two brothers or whatever used to be, they are buried there. They're called Oswald and Martin Mancy. I believe that's how you pronounce that. Again, we're Southern. They died as kids, and they're feeling bad for them. Like, oh, these kids died. Boo-hoo-hoo. Not much of a spoiler for me to tell you, Dr. Gruesome, that you shouldn't feel pity for these two because they're pretty bad hombres, even if they were kids.
Okay, you're saying children have died and they were mean before death.
Yes. Correct? Evil children, Dr. Gruesome, evil children. So these children are in the graveyard, which it never really says how old these are. I assume these are teenagers. I don't know. Usually they point out how old these guys are, but they never really said much. I assume this is either 7th, 8th grade or freshman high school. I don't know. Who knows? R.L. Stine let me down on this one. Didn't tell me how old they was. But so they're in the graveyard, and Spencer, ever being the clumsy man that he is, knocks over this tombstone, which is the gateway, so to speak, for causing all the trouble that comes to follow this. Like I said, I don't want to spoil stuff, but let's just say that after this happens, and after he ends up leaving the backpack in the graveyard and having to go back at night with Audra to get this backpack, is when all the trouble starts, because Audra, not being as good of a friend as you might think she is, tells somebody they're going to the graveyard, which causes even more trouble at the graveyard before the actual trouble at the graveyard starts. Follow me, Dr. Gruesome. Follow me down. It's confusing. But they go back to the graveyard. Trouble starts, and more trouble starts. And next thing you know, it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Don't want to spoil this, but like I said, it says it in the description. People were jumping into people's bodies. People were jumping into rodents' bodies, cats' bodies. It's really crazy, and it gets really interesting. Like I thought this was one of the more interesting books out of the ones I've read so far, and I don't know why people don't talk about this one more because it's actually pretty good. But it shouldn't be any surprise to you that more ghouls end up playing a part in the story, and the brothers, of course, are the bad guys. So our buddy here that we follow gets in a bad sticky situation he's got to try to get out of, but it gets pretty complicated, and there's a really good twist like near the end of the book that you have to pay real close attention to detail early in the book to even pick up on, because it kind of tells you this is happening, but it's done in such a subtle way that you don't know that it's coming, but it does come. And near the end of this book, Dr. Grissom, the action just flies everywhere, man. We got people being threatened with axes, guns are drawn, buildings are burnt down, all in a R.L. Stein children's book. You know, we even at one time a rabbit dies in this book, and it's described in detail how the poor rabbit dies. This is pretty gruesome stuff, Dr. Grissom. What do you think? Did R.L. Stein have a bad day when he wrote this book?
But he may have he may be the I'm sure that he puts a lot of himself and his life experiences in books. So he may have gruesomely murdered a rabbit at some point.
Maybe he brought up some bad memories. Like, yeah, I remember my friend Audra, the only girl that was ever my friend that I loved, and she talked to that bully all the time. So because of this, I hate rabbits. Let's murder a rabbit. Let's murder a rabbit.
It
So
is possible.
the book ends on one of those kind of gotcha moments. I kind of seen the last little bit of a twist coming. It's kind of what you would think when body jumping's going on, but nonetheless, it's a good book. I think it's probably maybe my favorite out of what I've read so far, man. And near the end, when the action picks up, there's some actual laugh out loud moments, which makes me feel goofy when I'm reading a book and it makes me giggle because people are like, "This guy, look at him. He's reading a kid's book and he's laughing. What's wrong with him? He's weird. No wonder he's single. No wonder." But that is the Attack of the Graveyard Ghouls, Dr. Gruesome. And for a little bit of trivia, apparently this is one of the few that's never been made into the episode of the TV series, which, with the quality of it, I'm a little bit surprised it was never turned into an episode. We can't confirm or deny that because neither you nor I are going to take time to go look on YouTube, or not YouTube, but Netflix and see if it's on there. But it said that on the Wikipedia page, so I'm going to take its word for it.
I did watch first episode, and was not terrible, but it did not make me want to watch second episode.
Well, my whole thing with the TV show is when I was a kid, I thought it was cool because I didn't know no better. And plus, when I was a kid, I was like, I don't want to read. I don't want to read.
It's true.
So I watched the shows, and I thought the shows were okay. But now, like I read that one that we did, The Ghost Next Door. I read the book, and then I was watching the TV show, and it kind of irked me and really peed me off when I noticed that it was nothing like the book. They're taking liberties, man. They're taking liberties, so I could probably watch them episodes and still not have the book spoiled, I guess. But another little trivia here: the Graveyard Ghouls will actually appear in the 2015 Goosebumps movie, which is premiering as we speak, Dr. Gruesome.
It is.
So, like I said, I don't have the book on me, so I can't do my little flipping of the pages as I normally do. But rest assured, this was 100% legit copy of the book. We don't PDF around here. What's that called? We don't nuki. What's that called around here? The little tablet thing. We don't do that. We don't PDF. We don't copy pages in a copy machine and hand them off to somebody. We might buy books from a secondhand store while wearing a raspberry beret or something, but we're not gonna go the shady way with these books. They may be free, but we're reading them, or I'm reading them, Dr. Grissom. You're not reading them yet.
Not yet.
Although
I did have one.
You do have one in your house, in your castle somewhere.
Lost it somewhere.
I think one of your little ghouls might have snatched it.
I believe so.
So Dr. Gruesome, when that delivery gets made to your house, we got to make sure these don't get snatched as well.
I have completely forgot about that book. I have no idea, but I will find out.
I just want for you people at home that listen to this podcast to know that Dr. Gruesome here has a long history of stuff that he gets for me vanishing from his home before it ever reaches my hands.
Yeah. I have a call message. Hey, do you got this? No. Okay, I got it. It's in my hand, and then it disappeared.
Like there was at one time a rumor. There wasn't necessarily a rumor. I saw pictures of two WWE action figures that were bought at the Transylvania Dollar General of CM Punk, Randy Orton, or somebody.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
And,
bro.
and he got these, and now where are they? you know?
I'm sure they're in the bottom of a wooden toy box with covered in cobwebs.
They probably are, which are out of print now.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice if Dr. Gruesome could put out an APB with the local vampire club or something and figure out where these went.
I
Mrs.
I
Gruesome didn't take them back to the dollar store with the receipt in hand, did you?
I would not put past her.
Oh, no. And me and her both be big buddies. I'll tell it.
No, she doesn't. She never returns anything.
Oh yeah.
If it's here, it's here.
Oh yeah. It's. I don't know. The mystery of the action figures. It took place of the conversation of the book. So I guess we might as well wrap this one up this week, Dr. Cruz. But nonetheless, that is a scholastic recent release there for a classic Goosebumps with the new cover. So if you can't go find the old one, you can pick up the new one probably at any bookstore that sells these things. Walmart apparently don't.
Nope. I have looked there.
So nonetheless, Attack of the Graveyard Ghouls, a good book, a lot of fun. And we hope you have a lot of fun listening to these podcasts. And I think next week, Dr. Gruesome, or whenever, I hope next week, it may be a week after that, who knows, but I've got that stack of the classic books, and I'm thinking of starting with the early numbers and working our way up. So I'm thinking I may do Monster Blood, which is like one of the most popular ones. I think it's book 4 or something like that, or book 8. It's one of the early ones. And we've got just to name a few because I don't have them on hand right now, or maybe I did. I think I made a list. I'll tell you what we got from our buddy Christopher that we can do. We have an original copy of The Ghost Next Door. Bless you, Dr. Grissom.
Thank you.
We have an original copy of The Ghost Next Door. We have Say Cheese and Die, Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes, Attack of the Mutant, Ghost Camp, The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena. I'm looking forward to that one. Monster Blood, The Haunted Mask 2, and well, we don't have Deep Trouble. I had Deep Trouble on the list, but for some reason I don't have Deep Trouble. So, nonetheless, we'll have some of those. I can't do The Haunted Mask though because I don't have the first one. Now I read the first one when I was in 5th grade, but that was a long time ago, Dr. Goose.
Yes.
I don't remember much about that, although I did like it. You know, I think that's one reason I do this podcast now, Dr. Gris, was because back in my young days when we actually had these things at our disposal to get, I didn't do it. You know, because it's like money's kind of limited. So when I got money, I didn't think, oh, I'm gonna go get a Goosebumps book. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go buy me a pack of baseball cards. Or I'm gonna go buy me a wrestler and action figures. Or a rap CD. I was really into rap music back then, and I used to borrow these from our buddy Gilbert. You might remember him. He was like a wolf man.
Yes.
He was hairy. He was like a wolf man.
Remember Gilbert.
So the Goosebumps come back in the day when it was stuff like that, and I remember this time of year precisely because it was always fun to read a Goosebumps book this time of year. It was also fun to get those old Monsters of the Gridiron baseball scary trading card it's football trading card you could get in like packs of Coke. You remember them?
Yes.
Get Emmett Smith dressed up like a whatever the heck that was. But by the way, if you would like Chuck to go back and buy his childhood, you can make donations to Chuck Connery at paypal.com, which would be real nice to donate because Chuck broke his microphone stand tonight. He's having to hold his microphone. So if you hear anything sounds funny, because I've had to hold this by hand the whole show. So I'm going to wrap it up, Dr. Grues. Wrapping it up now for sure. I went down Nostalgia Street. You got to pull me back in sometimes, man. You got to pull me back in.
Wrap it up, Chuck. What's your last words of the evening?
I don't have any, Dr. Gruesome. You can give your last words of the evening.
I have no last words.
No, there's no last words. So until next week, this has been Chuck's Untitled Goosebumps podcast with Dr. Gruesome, featuring Dr. Gruesome. And we'll hear from you hopefully next week.